What's the best shader in Minecraft? There's a lot of shaders in Minecraft, and it doesn't feel right to name one the best one because there are different shaders, like ray tracing shaders, which make the game look very realistic, or just fantasy shaders that make the game look quite cartoony, but also fun in a way. So, instead of naming the best shader, I'm going to name the best shaders because it isn't really right to name just one best one. Starting off with number 1. One of the best shaders, in my opinion, is Complementary Reimagined. The person who made this shader also made Complementary Shaders, not Reimagined, which is also a very great shader, which I'll also be presenting in this video. Keep in mind these shaders are both made by the same author. Now, Complementary Reimagined is a very fun shader to use. It's quite fantasy, is quite the fantasy shader in a way, as it has really thick clouds that look beautiful and are in stacks. This kind of reminds me of nostalgia shaders, which I'm also going to be introducing in this video. Complementary Reimagined shaders are a great way to use shaders if you need to use them. They're very low performance impact, depending on the settings you use, and can be very high impacted on the settings you use. This shader is very customizable. You can check performance settings, lighting settings, material settings with a lot of other stuff. You can turn on puddles, waving textures, and a lot of PBR stuff, which is very great when it comes to shaders. One of my favorite settings with this shader, which I'm going to show here, is probably the material generated normals, just because it looks so good. As you can see, textures are now 3-dimensional. Now before, obviously, they were not 3-dimensional, and now textures are like this are poking out, if you can see that. And you can adjust these settings depending on how 3-dimensional you want these textures to look. For now, I will change to the next shader, known as Complementary Shaders. Now this shader is very similar to Complementary Reimagined, except that it looks a bit more realistic. The shadows look a lot better, I would say, in my opinion. And the emissiveness, I'm pretty sure is better. I'm not sure if it is, but it's most likely better. So I'm going to make the sky look better. This shader and the entire thing is probably the most customizable. You can turn a lot of things on to make it look nice. Like if I turn on all these settings, for an example, look how it would look. Very pretty. There's a big star with lots of clouds, and a lot of stuff is just amazing with this. It is really customizable. So this shader is very customizable, really customizable. So it is a really. I don't know if shaders are compatible. I don't know if shaders are if they can't be used with certain things like mods, but I'm pretty sure if that was a thing, complementary will be probably one of the most versatile. Next shader is nostalgia shaders. This shader is more on the realistic side. Although it isn't ray tracing, it is very fun to use. It is really similar to Complementary Reimagined in a way, because it has the double clouds, but you have to turn on the setting. I don't have it on right now just because I like the normal clouds. I love these shaders with the clouds like this just because they look very nice. In my opinion, shaders that have these kinds of clouds are just really fun. They're very fun to use and probably my all-time favorites. The reason why they call it the nostalgia shader is obvious. I think the developers just want to, bring back the old days of Minecraft with a shader, make it look like an old Minecraft shader. So yeah, it is very fun to use, although it is on the performance side. It is on the low performance side and quality side, which means you will get lower FPS with this shader out of all the other ones, but it's still a very fun shader to use. Next shader up in line is Seus PTGI Shaders. Now, for this one, I'm going to use the HRR because they're the newer models. I'm using the Test 2.1. This shader is a ray tracing shader, which means you get realistic lighting and shadows. The only thing I don't like about this shader is that leaves, I really wish that you could make leaves wave, but no, not in this shader, sadly. But yeah, if you don't know the difference between just normal shaders and ray tracing shaders, is that they have directional lighting for one. So why am I typing directional? If you get for something like let's say a lantern, and we go underground. So if I dig out this little area, and if I put a lantern here, it shines like that. Now for other shaders, this will light up the entire place, but for this shader, it does it directionally. As you can see, it's not very noticeable, but you can see like a diagonal of the light. It's just pointing out in that direction. And it is very fun, although I would say it takes a bit of time for the light to update. I don't know if this is a glitch or something, but yeah. Keep in mind though, this shader is on the quality side, so this will impact your performance by a lot, and I mean a lot. Depending on what type of PC you have, this might not be playable for other people. Next shader in line, or a last shader we have here, is Sildur's Vibrant Shaders. This shader is probably the most usable for PCs people who don't have like the best PCs. This is probably the shader for you. It isn't really really high. Isn't really that it isn't really that low. It's kind of low quality for a shader. But that's what makes it very, very, very usable. This shader was probably the first shaders I ever used. I don't know if it is or not, but it is definitely up there on the first ones I've installed and downloaded. This shader is not the most realistic, but it does do the job. It does do the job done. Like, look at that. Look at that. See the sun rays? I guess they call them God rays, but still, like, I'm pretty sure these shaders have probably one of the best God rays. And for such a low impact shader, this is amazing. It's probably on the more performance side. So yeah, this shader is definitely really usable. Bonus shader, if you want to see it, is Continuum. The only reason why I'm showing it is just because it's the first shader I've ever installed, but it is very performance impactful. This is it's pretty laggy just because it's very realistic, but it is very nice. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a very nice shader. It was the first shader I've ever installed. It is very realistic. Like, the water on this shader, probably the best water I've ever seen for any shader. Like, seriously, this shader is so good. Like, look at that lighting. Yeah. So yeah, this shader is very nice to use, and is probably up there on my favorite shaders as well, but this is not sadly just because I like other shaders, but still, this is a very nice shader to use. Now, these are the top 5 best shaders in my opinion, and you should probably check them out. I'll probably leave links below in the description. So yeah, see you guys, and out.